Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great day wherever you may be. My name is Lindsay Streeper, and I'm the VP of Marketing here at Magellan Federal, and I'll be your moderator for our discussion today. We're very glad you've joined us to learn a little bit more about a new way to approach change. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. MFed Inform is Magellan Federal's platform to bring you valuable wellness insights to those connected to the federal government. We have blogs with expert advice, free downloadable resources, and of course, webinars such as this. So you can see the URL for MFed Inform on the bottom left of this slide, which is mfed.info/inform. So if you click on that, you can't click on the screen, but if you type that in and go there after the call today, you can find wonderful insights across all of our resources. And you can actually subscribe as well to hear about available topics and information. And you'll be the first to do that if you're a subscriber. So thank you all very much for joining us. Let's go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. Before I turn it over to our speakers, I wanted to provide a brief overview of who we are. Magellan Federal has team members all over the world delivering sensitive, complex productivity and wellness solutions. Our mission, as you can see here on the slide, is to inspire healthier, more productive communities by delivering innovative, total well-being solutions to the federal government, military personnel, government employees, and their families. We deliver services in areas such as mental health and substance abuse, family support, fitness for duty, workplace wellness, family counseling, and of course, performance coaching, as you'll hear more about today. Next slide. And here are our experts that you're going to hear from today on our topic. They're accomplished performance experts, and you can read their full bios on the event website. So hopefully you got to know them a little bit. E and Jeremy are going to walk you through the content and the bulk of the time today. And then Dr. Metzler will come in at the end to share how you can learn more if you like what you hear. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to E to dive in for us.
Hello. Good morning. I wanted to thank you for the introduction, Lindsay. I wanted to invite you all along on this journey with Jeremy and I, and give you a little heads up of what to expect along the way. So Jeremy and I have been talking about this topic for quite some time. And what we've been really digging into is how the science behind challenge comes to life in real life. And so we decided that, hey, we're going to sit with you and invite you to join some of our stories. We're going to talk about the science behind those stories and how challenge is the key to change. And when that happens, we will pop up some slides so that you'll be able to see that science as we explain it as well, just so you know what to expect as we go along this journey. That being said, let's get started. And I want to start with change. And to start, I'm going to ask you to join me on a little story that I'm going to take you on about some change that I've experienced and take you to a little bit different place. So bear with me. I promise it connects, and join me on this story. So in my past life, I was a youth basketball coach. So think third, fourth grade, right? So we're talking skill level is pretty minimal. They're just probably picking up a ball for the first time, can't really dribble. So coaching these kids, I did this drill with them. And the drill was designed to help them learn how to dribble. So the drill is you put all of the kids. So we're looking like 10, 12, 15 kids into a small space. For those of you who know a basketball court, there's like an arc, the 3-point line. Everybody had to be within the 3-point line and the end line. So for those of you who don't know, it's pretty small space, and they all had to be dribbling a ball with the goal of they're the last one standing, still dribbling with their ball. That means the ball did not go out of bounds and they didn't pick up the ball. They maintained their dribble the whole time. Okay, so that's the game. Now, what makes it a game and what makes it a little bit tricky, especially for this age group, is they can go around and knock each other's balls away, right? Trying to win the game. And that game might look a little something like the slide that Kaylee is about to share with us, except for also basketballs flying everywhere, right? And so the kid, this one, right, might look a little something like this, emotions a little bit everywhere. So that kid that suddenly ran to the bathroom might be the person up here on the top of the slide in denial, or maybe even disillusionment. The one that got out first might be the one at the bottom of the curve you're seeing, maybe feeling a little dejected. The all-star might be this kid at the very right-hand side of this curve moving forward. The person in the corner, I don't know, like, are they scared or are they cautious, right? Like, and then the kid chasing the ball, maybe it's the fear, threat, maybe it's this anxiety over here on the left-hand side of the screen, right? But what you guys are actually looking at is what we call a change curve, right? So what you're seeing is the experience that people might have when they're faced with change. Sometimes it feels a little chaotic, like when this is a team, like this might be a team, like I just talked about, where everybody on the team is in a different place. But this might also just be one individual's experience of change, right? They hit the change, they have anxiety, and then they're in denial, and then fear, right? And one person might experience this whole curve. Now, what matters, though, is how we play the game. So how they play matters, because ultimately they want to win. So let's take this all-star. Maybe this is the person down here moving forward. Does she win the game? Maybe. Or maybe she doesn't, because she doesn't focus on the kid chasing her ball around all over the place. Could happen. So wait, then maybe it's the kid in the corner who wins the game. Maybe they're gonna play the long game, right? It matters. It matters how we play the game. So how we move through change, that also matters. And we're gonna talk a little bit about one way we can move through change or develop some skills to help us move through this change curve. Maybe it's like we're gonna lessen the dip, you know, that the dip down to the despair that you see, or maybe we're gonna build a bridge. So how we're experiencing each other also matters. So first, I want you to think about, in this moment, who are you? Which kid are you on that basketball court? Are you the kid that's like running out the door? Are you the one like sitting on the sideline, a little bit dejected? Are you the all-star? Like, which kid are you? Okay, and we'll talk about moving through that change curve here in just a little bit. But also, how are you in this moment experiencing others? Are you the person dejected, sitting on the sideline, looking at this person moving forward and thinking, oh man, like, I wish I was them, and like just completely blinded by jealousy? Or maybe you feel like they just don't care enough to actually experience the emotions you're experiencing, right? It's easy to do in these moments when there's a lot going on. It's easy to lack empathy, to lack understanding. It's easy for my athletes to do the same thing, but it impacts team movement. So as we're going through today, we're going to talk about like, okay, what are the strategies to move through this change curve? How do we win this drill? But two, also, like, what is the strategy to develop understanding of everybody on the team so we can move together? Jeremy has a similar story about how he got stuck in a place of misunderstanding when another person was moving through change in a different way than he has.
Thanks, E. So when I think about change and people handling it differently, I think about my brother, who's a few years older than me. He's an engineer by day, and since 2010, he's had a small side business doing engineering and machining with CNC machines, creating different parts and things of that nature. A couple years ago, I was helping him out after work, and pretty standard stuff. He would do all the smart things. I would do the lesser smart things, just kind of lifting things up, holding it, supporting him. And then one day we got, a request for challenging massive stainless steel project, which is a change, right? Something different than our norm had been for a while. And he took it on, and I remember feeling almost more of that like threat, like, ooh, is this a little bit much? Like, are we going to be able to really do this? Because stainless steel is awesome, and yet whenever it's really inconvenient, it will go wrong, it seems like, and will make your life miserable to try to make into something useful. And as it turns out, or chipping away at the project, he, after work comes in, and there's been another change. The deadline shifted and a little bit tweaking the design. And I remember feeling a little bit of like, oh geez, like this is gonna be kind of rough. But he didn't. He seemed to be, kind of more that all-star, just like, hey, let's get after it. And so I was like, all right, maybe there is hope. And we started getting after it, and I remember being probably like 50 feet away from him, and all of a sudden something went wrong. And it was like a gut punch to me. I was like, I was right. I know this is going to be terrible. It's already like 8:40, something like that at night. His workday starts at 06 in the morning, so he's tired. I'm thinking, there's no way we're going to be able to do this. I can't do the part he needs to get done. We're not going to make it happen. And then all of a sudden, he tried something else. And that didn't work. He tried something else, and then something else, and then something else. I just couldn't believe it. Like, he was just so creative in trying to find these different solutions. And then he ended up just using his, brilliant mind to, rig together this, apparatus and able to actually get the job done in time. And I just remember thinking, like, whoa, not only did he handle it differently, like, it helped me kind of move along, seeing how he was able to move forward. And really, I also realized, like, thinking back to old school, Rolodexes where people have phone numbers and business contacts, I'm like, this guy has like a Rolodex of solutions. And I've seen it again and again that whenever something tends to go wrong, like, he has like a Rolodex of solutions. He always seems to have a way. And then I also realized, I thought he was really strange where he might, go off-roading, whether it's in a buggy or a Jeep. And he would say that he loves getting his Jeep stuck. And I'm like, that's like the worst possible thing that can happen. You get stuck. Like, the whole point is to be out there driving, not stuck. But for him, each of these opportunities is just a challenge. When the Jeep is stuck, it's like, ooh, it's a challenge. I get to find out a puzzle of how to get it unstuck. Every single thing that was going wrong at work is a challenge of, like, how can I figure it out now? So he had this natural tendency to seek out a challenge. And that's actually a very important thing. As you maybe can tell where our title today. And we have a visual here showing this concept of a challenge skills balance. So we can see on the y-axis, we have challenge. On the bottom, think about it's a low challenge, easy challenge, not much going on. At the top, hard challenge, very difficult. On the x-axis, going left to right, we have skills. On the left, low skill, not very skilled, unskilled. On the right, very skilled. Now, the key here is it's not just this objective challenge or skill. It's your perception of a challenge or a skill. All right, so for any task, anything I'm about to do, I have a perception of how hard it is. I also have a perception of how effectively I have the skills to address that challenge, that task. And as you can see in the middle here, we have this perfect balance. When you have a balance of a challenge to your skill set, that is where the perfection, that is where the gold happens. The thing is, sometimes we might think a challenge is really hard and we don't have the skill set. And then in the bottom right, we see the opposite. All of a sudden here, the challenge is pretty low. Like, it's not that hard to do. I can do it. And also you get kind of bored. Like, I just don't want it. I don't feel like it. The key here is saying, hey, can I find ways to find a challenge that actually tests me? And I mentioned this balance where I want to have this perception, the task is at a certain level and my skill set can meet it. It's actually even more beneficial if the challenge is slightly above that skill set. Not too high, of course, because we don't get to that anxious, but slightly above where all of a sudden it takes everything you have. It takes that complete focus, that complete attention, everything that you have to really stretch yourself to reach new heights. And when you do this, like, you become immersed in the activity, and it's a really satisfying feeling. You're able to get a lot done, and actually there's a lot of other benefits that he's going to get into right now.
Yeah. So what Jeremy is really talking about is a entryway into something called flow. And when you look at psychology, the research on flow calls it a state of optimal experience, right? But if you've ever been in it, you might call it being like in the zone, deep focus, intense enjoyment, feels effortless. It feels like time either sped up, right? And it's going really fast, or it's slowed down and you get done with whatever you're doing and you're like, holy cow, it's been an hour and a half later and I have no idea where the time went, right? And why this is important, why this challenge skill balance is important, is because this is the golden rule to flow, to putting ourselves in that state, in the flow state. And that's where we get the benefits that Jeremy is talking about. And so some of the benefits, and you'll see them pop up here on the screen in just a second, so you'll have this information. But some of the benefits are a psychological buffer, motivation, and creativity. And now, real quick, let's go back to those little players, right? Let's connect the change that I started with, that like chaos that I started with, being in that gym, basketballs flying everywhere, right? To the benefits that we get from seeking this challenge, from finding this challenge skill balance. Okay, so let's start with this psychological buffer, we're going to talk about these kids too. So psychological buffer, what we mean by that is we gain improved emotion regulation, right? When we find ourselves in this state of flow consistently more often, we gain improved emotional regulation. It increases our focus, our ability to put our attention somewhere and keep it there, drives positive emotion, and can prompt a sense of control. And we'll get there. We'll talk about like how to find this change. But next, let's look at this creativity. We'll go creativity on the screen. So we're talking about creativity. Like, we're not just talking about being able to music, or I feel like when we mention the word creativity, people are like art or music. No, when we're talking creativity, that's creative too, but we're talking more than that. We're talking a heightened sense of focus again, right? Reduced self-judgment. And that's really important when we're talking about this challenge skill balance, right? Because if you're self-judging, you might push yourself up into that anxiety because it's all about your perception of your skill, right? And then fosters a sense of presence or being in the moment, which increases or enhances our problem solving, right? When now self-judgment's reduced, I'm in the moment, so I can problem solve better. You heard that in Jeremy's brother's story too, right? He was able to come up with solutions to the problem that he was facing over and over and over again, even though he was in a place of being exhausted, right? There's still improvements we can make, even if we're on the other side of that change curve already. Okay, now let's go to motivation. When we experience this challenge skill balance, we find flow, we experience joy and satisfaction. It's inherently rewarding, which then ultimately leads to building a desire to engage, to keep going. And again, it fosters that sense of presence. Well, listen, we all like that stuff. So if we like that stuff, we're going to keep doing it. It's almost creating intrinsic motivation for ourselves. And so when we can find flow, when we can find this challenge skill balance more often, we gain these benefits. And you can see how these benefits can then help us through change, right? Like, we can change that anxiety to a heightened sense of focus. We can change that dejection to joy, satisfaction, when we're finding the right level of challenge for our skill level. Now, I want to pause before I jump into how in the heck do we do this, I want to pause, because something that I talked about in the very beginning with these athletes is that we're not only moving through change ourselves, but we're moving through change as a team, right? Like, after this drill, all these kids have to go play basketball together. And you heard a slight touch of empathy in Jeremy's story, because he talked about how he first looked at his brother as like just a workaholic, like, why was he doing this? Like, he didn't see what was really happening for his brother. And I think that's an important part to this conversation too. And I'm not going to dive into a lot of empathy, but I think just taking that change curve and realizing that everybody experiences change differently can drive that empathy for us. But the most important part to walk away with is everybody's experiencing differently and everybody's in a different place. So then how can we help move everybody through that change curve? Maybe shrink the curve or build a bridge. We want to set ourselves up by giving ourselves the tools to win. We want to give the kids the tools to win the drill, but ultimately we want to give ourselves the tools to win the change curve game. So how do we do that? Is it a challenge at work? Is it a challenge at home? Like Jeremy, it's like, what does this actually look like to find a challenge?
Well, quick context. I dated my wife like less than a year. We got married, bought a house, and I was doing a lot of travel for work. Married less than 2 years, and she was getting deployed with the National Guard over to Kuwait. Her stepson, who was turning 14, going to start high school that year, was going to stay with me so he could enter high school, that we had planned for him to go to. So a whole lot of change happening all at once. And I remember like sitting on the couch with him, watching some TV, and thinking, like, I feel like we need to do something. Like we need something more than just this. Even though it was fine. And I thought, what about playing this new board game that we had? And it's like, it seems like a hassle. But I realized long before that these little hurdles are always what like stand out as like the signals to me that this is how I find the challenge. If there's a little barrier, I know I need to cross that little barrier and it will be better for me and I will enjoy myself more and get these benefits that we talked about. So I was like, all right, hey, we're going to play this game. Are you down? And he was a little reluctant, but I kind of coaxed him into it. And then we started playing the game, but instead of getting overwhelmed by all the rules and trying to play it perfectly, we just read it over, had a decent idea, and decided, hey, let's just play it our way. Learn by doing. We'll figure it out as we go. But after we played, we understood the rules better, and then we were able to increase the challenge of the game because now we had a skill set. So we're able to manipulate that challenge skills balance, and we're working together playing this game. And also we became immersed, and we're really engaged for like an hour and a half total. And you can see the benefits for our relationship, and even me, how I would communicate with my wife, communicate with coworkers. Like I just felt better. I could see and feel the differences because I had that lens of awareness that I knew I would get those benefits too. So that's a personal example in the personal life, how it helped me. On the professional, I think you have some.
Yeah, and as I was listening to you, like something I was thinking about too is how just that experience of boredom might be a signal like, oh, let me find some challenge, right? And maybe that boredom's at work and you need to like time yourself to do the work that you need to do or add some sort of challenge. But yeah, at work, mine is a little bit different. It's this time my story is about somebody else, but I worked with the military for quite some time doing performance psychology, and I had the opportunity to work with female soldiers heading to Ranger School for the very first time when Ranger School opened up for females. And I don't know, I'll just explain it. The PT test before Ranger School is slightly different. There's a requirement to do 6 pull-ups and 41 hand release push-ups and some other requirements that I don't need to really go into. But I can remember working with these soldiers. They were like freaking out over these 6 pull-ups and 41 hand release push-ups. And I can remember thinking in the moment, like, y'all are about to go to this grueling school and you're worried about the 2 minutes beforehand where you got to like pass like that just blew my mind. But you look at that challenge skill balance, what was happening for them? They were perceiving their skill to be lower than the challenge, driving anxiety for themselves. Now, the crazy thing is, it's not that they couldn't do it, like physically they could do it. In fact, one of the soldiers, for sure, I know, had passed Ranger School altogether. So she passed the push-ups, she passed the pull-ups, and the entire school. So physically, she could do it. So what was happening was the mental game, what that perception of skill was getting in their way, causing that anxiety. So for them, it was a mindset thing. And we did a ton of work on their mindset, like years of messaging about what they could do, what they can't do, right? Was obviously driving some anxiety for them. But what we did to lower the anxiety in the moment was break that challenge down. So we started getting their thoughts focused on the actual process of the test that they had to do. So I'm just going to take the push-ups, 2 minutes of push-ups. So we broke it down into 4 sections of 30 seconds. What do I need to do in this 30 seconds? What do I need to do in this 30 seconds? And so on and so forth. And then what was the actual physical process of doing a push-up correctly? What that did is it brought their brain to the moment and it reduced the challenge down to little chunks, which then was able to help them find that challenge skill balance. And so sometimes we find ourselves in this place of boredom and we need to up that challenge. And sometimes we find ourselves in this place of anxiety and we need to figure out either how to change our mindset or chunk that challenge up, like lower the challenge a little bit so we feel like our skill level meets that challenge. And so this can happen at work, this can happen at home. There are lots of different ways that we can provide ourselves challenge so that we can find that challenge skill balance, experience that flow, and then get those benefits that we were talking about.
Yeah. So I think just to wrap up some of my thoughts on this idea of challenge for change, obviously with change comes a lot of things that we cannot control. We might have heard, hey, control what you can control. Don't worry about the other things. Obviously, easier said than done. But being really intentional and saying, hey, a way to put my energy and my thoughts and my attention towards what I can control is to identify some challenge, whether it's directly related to the change or even elsewhere, and immerse myself so that I get these benefits where I don't I'm able to handle all the nonsense that happens. It doesn't impact me as bad. I see new solutions and I'm able to stay motivated and bring the best version of myself to whatever it is I'm about to do. So it's just one method to get after it. And as you can imagine, we could talk about other methods, or even right now we say, hey, it's a challenge skills balance. Really, that's one part of flow that you had mentioned. And he's going to highlight a little bit more. We have some takeaways for you to see more information on flow. And really, there's a plethora of avenues to learn more and to dive in at a deep level.
So what you see now on the screen is a list of what they call flow triggers. So challenge skill balance is one flow trigger, and actually it's called the golden rule flow. It's very foundational, right? We need that to find flow. But there are other things you can consider in terms of finding flow as well. And you see them on the slide, but you see mindset, social, environmental, creativity, and focus being the 5 main goals of getting yourself into flow. And the social one's really cool because when you work on a team, you can actually set your team up to find flow together. And had I been a better basketball coach way back with those little kids, I would have done this for them, right? Like, obviously, some people were bored, some people had anxiety in that game. So how could I set them up mentally to play the game more effectively? Would have been a lot better coaching on my part, right? Like helping people chunk up the challenge of the drill and helping people challenge themselves more within the drill. Maybe it was they could only dribble with their left hand or something, right? So these are some of those flow triggers that you can all take a look at, and you'll get this information. For those of you who are really into going and doing some of the research yourself, here's some books by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He is the founder of Flow. And for those of you who don't like to read, also some videos that you can link to learn more about Flow as well. So all of that being said, this is a blast. Love being here with you. I'm going to hand it over now to John Metzler.
All right. Thanks, E and Jeremy. Great job explaining this difficult concept. And if you have not experienced Flow, it is pretty elusive. Really finding that balance between challenge and skill is tough, and particularly when you see all those factors that we just had up on the slide, and the different elements that can actually disrupt flow. We know we can't control our what the changes that happens to us and the chaos and so forth, but we can control a lot of elements that can increase the probability that we can get into that state and really maximize our own creativity, innovation, and so forth. What I'm going to talk about is, you just experienced E and Jeremy, and they have a wealth of scientific knowledge in performance psychology, organizational psychology, positive psychology, resilience training, and so forth. And this is what they do. We are proud of our ability to convey science in story and bring to life these concepts and some tangible skills for what you can do to actually enhance your experience, your performance, and thrive and flourish in uncertain environments and chaos. And we put that all together in a product we call Embolden. So Embolden is our high impact coaching program, and you got just a little flavor from Ian Jeremy today, and in this environment, it's much more what we call didactic. The information is coming at you. Even though they're sharing stories, you can hear some of the stories, but we really want to emphasize that I think you can hear the relatability in our coaches and their experience and taking science and putting it into story and actually hearing stories from you all. So we like to put teams together, cohorts of about 15, and really have a dynamic coaching program that will empower you to take these concepts, share your stories, and have our expert facilitators really curate the science and help you operationalize the effect that you want to have based on experiences that you've had and experiences that you're living. And so we have a wealth of experiences, as both Ian and Jeremy have accentuated, in deploying our coaching methods in military environments. And we've seen performance improvements. And he talked about Ranger School, but if it's Ranger School or culinary arts or canine groups or infantry or tank gunnery ranges, you name it, we've seen the impacts of our coaching using these methods. And so we have actually put that together in a program that we call Embolden. We've found that as we get more context specific, like right now, we are deploying this MFED Inform to a variety of people from all sorts of different backgrounds. But as we get more specific with you and we understand your context, whether it be in some type of law enforcement operations or whether it be organizational structure and so forth, we can tailor our coaching methods to meet your needs and give you the right science at the right time. So that's Embolden. And if you want to learn more, on the next slide, here's a few pathways that we already have ready to go to optimize yourself as you approach performance, to connect with others. We've already highlighted how important it is to be members of a team and be able to influence each other and handle chaos and uncertainty together, strengthening your relationships and growing and developing together. And then ultimately, how do you function as a team? And so those are really our three central elements, if you will. But we can go beyond this in terms of topics. This is just a starting point, because oftentimes we hear organizations that want a little something, what can we target? These are areas we can target. We can work with you to target other areas as well. So if you want to learn more, there is a QR code here and you will get this slide deck. We have a website. Please go to the website, surf around, see what you can find out, and contact us if you're interested in our group coaching.
This was really an interesting session. Thank you both, Ian and Jeremy, for sharing your expertise in real life scenarios to where I know we've all can relate to. Really, really helpful. So I invite you now to just think about what questions you might have. I know you might still be processing the information and what specific questions on how to apply this and to your lives. But if you do have a question, feel free to drop that in the Q&A. We did have a couple pre-submitted questions, however, from you had the opportunity to submit your questions when you registered. So we can kick off with those as those of you on the call are thinking of any questions you might have. The first pre-submitted question we had was, how do I help others navigate through employment uncertainty? So E or Jeremy, either one of you want to take that one, or Dr. Metzler?
I can jump on that. I think it's kind of related to what I was talking about with Ranger School, but also with a tad of self-determination theory that I'll add on to it here. And one, it's either talking to your people or really paying attention to their emotions and their responses, right? Like if you see anxiety, then you likely know that they're either perceiving their challenge as too high, or they need to up their skill level, right? And so can you set up their environment in a way where you're giving them the opportunity to either develop their skills in a less challenging place, or helping them shift their mindset like I did with the Ranger candidates. Now, but on the other side of that, one way to help with the uncertainty and drive certainty is, can you engage them in the planning for the goal setting, the tasks, who you're delegating the tasks out to? Because the more autonomy, the more they feel like they have some choice, the more they're going to feel in control, which is now going to lessen that uncertainty. And that's just like one way to talk about that. John, Jeremy, would you add anything to that?
I would just say that's a good call out, is recognizing the emotion in others and then being able to adapt and understanding this, hopefully understanding this challenge skill balance to then be able to reflect on what you might be seeing from your fellow employees, and then making adjustments. Also, ownership on the employees to try to articulate your emotion. Oh man, I'm feeling really overwhelmed, and so on and so forth. And just putting the label to it can help, facilitate understanding so you can make adjustments.
Perfect. Thank you. Another question we had come in: how do I handle external changes and losses in our country while maintaining all my roles? And I think this is a professional setting. Everything going on externally, how do we manage that with everything we have going on professionally?
I think this is one of those, it kind of goes back to, hey, what can you control? What can you not control? And there's a balance between saying, hey, I need to be informed about the world, and then reading about it, watching about it, so forth, where it's negatively impacting you, it's draining you, it's depleting you left and right. So one thing that comes to mind is saying, hey, I need to have a designated time period where I will be informed. So this is when I consume news, knowing that news is 24/7, and all these companies are spending a lot of money to try to take your attention left and right. So instead of saying, hey, I'm only going to consume news in a smart way at this certain time period where I know I can process it, and I won't be maybe under the sense of calling the fatigue where all of a sudden I start spiraling and going on and on about it. I just know, all right, this is the stuff that I'm reading about, whether it's better or worse. Now let me proceed with the next thing I have in my day and get in after it. Of course, if you engage in challenges at work and so forth, it's going to help you be immersed as opposed to being distracted by outside things. But then that being said, sometimes we see something, hear something, and we think we got to do something. Now there's a range of indirect to direct action we can take. Complaining about it to a spouse is some indirect action. A little story on Instagram is some indirect action. Sometimes we might partake in indirect action and then get upset that we're not seeing any result. Well, maybe you need to take more direct action. Maybe it's something that really matters to you, and you need to shift the type of action that you're taking, and still realizing that you still can't control the outcome, but you can control the effort that you put forth. So those are some of the things that pop in my mind to address an issue like this.
Can I just add a little bit? So I thinking back, this question brought me back to COVID, right? And everything all the changes that occurred within COVID. And I can remember specifically thinking about this webinar, skill versus challenge during COVID, and how when we're in chaos, it's really easy for us to lose who we are, to lose that identity. And when we very purposely find challenges at home or connected to who we are. So in that moment, I remember losing the ability to go to the rec center and play basketball, right? And so it felt even bigger, the change on top of I can't do the thing that I love to do. And so I started navigating my world in a way of recognizing, what else is it that I love to do? And I started gardening and building things in my backyard, right? And making sure to do everything I could to find myself in that place of challenge, skill, balance. And what was really, really cool about it is when you connect it to something that you love to do and you're challenging yourself in that place, it can help you hang on to your identity as well, right? And so in those moments of chaos, if you can maintain a little bit of center, a little bit of yourself, then the chaos feels a little less chaotic. Sorry, John, I saw you come off mute too.
Oh, I love this question. I was just going to say that we've had to navigate a similar kind of idea to what both Ian and Jeremy are talking about, information overload. And we've experienced it both in the sport world. If you deal with professional sports at all, the wearables are just nuts. Or my kids starting school today and football practice, and they have drones overhead, and they're going to video record every practice. And then, itemize the speed of all the players. This is high school football in Texas. So the amount of information is just astronomical out there. And we actually have a lot of experience of helping people get away from the noise and focus on the signal, because, and the same in the Army context, is there's so much feedback and training exercises that you just have to turn it off, as Jeremy said. and focus on the signal.
Really good insights from all of you. We probably have time for one more question, and then we'll go to closing comments. But I wanted to ask this one because it was a good one. Are there quick strategies or micro adjustments leaders can make, leaders or anyone really can make in real time to rebalance challenge and skill during high pressure change moments?
My thoughts immediately go to like autonomy. Like so if you notice that somebody is in anxiety or somebody is in boredom, get them involved in the goal setting and the task development, right? Like who's getting what task? Because one, it shifts control to them, but two, you're going to learn where they're at when you have these conversations, right? Like you're going to learn that like, hey, like I feel overwhelmed with this specific task. And so maybe it's like, okay, how do we solve that together? And so you can help them find the talent skill balance with them instead of just delegating tasks. That's where I go.
I think in a related way, I think about times where as a leader, like you see someone who has ability and you're like, well, come on, you can do this. And they seem like they're a little overwhelmed. And you're like, but you have the ability. You see objectively their balance of challenge and skill. Like, you know, they can do it. Maybe that challenge is a little bit higher, but you know they can do it. And they don't seem to know it themselves. And so maybe it's a little confidence issue. I think sometimes it's having that support for them. Maybe it's asking them some questions to help them relive moments that they've done well, help them realize for themselves the data that you have as to why you believe in them, and then reinforcing that you know they have the skill set to get it done. And I think at times, you know, challenge skills, hey, here's a task, go do it. Like, it should be good. But getting them involved, hearing their perception of it, because my perception of the task maybe, or the challenge maybe is lower than their perception. So maybe that's the issue as well. So really having that conversation, helping them be supported to navigate that moment can really make a difference and make those little micro adjustments, kind of like fine tuning an old school radio. Like, we're close, we hear a little bit of fuzz, it's kind of there. Really just connecting with that person and identifying how they're perceiving it, whether is it their skills that's too low or the challenge is too high. And then either way, you can help them tweak it back to where it needs to be.
Great advice. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and leave you all with some resources and things to take away here today. I want to thank you all for attending. I know your time is precious and spending an hour with us to learn a little bit about this topic. And hopefully you learned a little something to take back to your work environment or your home environment. Just as a reminder, you will receive the recording along with a copy of the presentation and additional handouts. And we'll get an email out in the next few days with that information for you so you can share with anyone else who might have missed it. And then Kaylee brought up the QR code here so you can see that and scan that. If you scan that code here, it will take you to the Fed Informed page where you can subscribe and get more insights from us as well, which come out regularly. We post articles. And then, of course, I dropped in the chat the link to the Embolden service that we're providing if you're interested in taking some of this wonderful information to your organization. With that, I will just turn it back over to the team for any final thoughts, comments, or parting advice.
I just want to say thank you very much. Our team loves to help people and always finds a way to do that.
Ditto. Thank you. Thank you for attending.
All right. Well, I'm going to drop a link to the survey and you will get that as well. If you can give us some feedback on how you like today's session. And of course, if you want to learn more as well, you know how to reach us. So thank you all for joining and enjoy the rest of your day.